everybody, welcome back to the Peace and Grease podcast. I'm hanging out with Dan from Straight Line Customs and his 62 Nova. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Peace and Grease podcast. I'm Flannel. That's Sinclair behind the camera. And we are all about the Midwest motor culture. We love taking you guys along and meeting new people and their builds. And today we're excited because we have Dan from Straight Line Customs that brought in his build. And he's going to tell us all about it. So let's just start off. Give me the quick 30-second version of who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll jump right into the build. How's that sound?
Name's Dan Pearson, owner of Straight Line Customs. I've been in business 15 plus years in Burnsville. We have a very successful high-end restoration custom shop building badass cars.
Right on. That's super cool. And what did you bring into the shop today?
So built this for my wife. Took 7 years. It's a 62 Nova convertible. Basically a full custom car that I wanted to kind of compete with the big boys, but still on my budget, and just a lot of man hours and a lot of dedication to get it to where it is. That's
awesome. So it's, in a way, it's your business card now. You can take it out and you can kind of showcase what you guys do at the shop.
Absolutely. We took it to Detroit, showed it in Detroit, took it down to Columbus, good guys, in there, and showed it around a little bit. And now we just have fun with it.
That's awesome. So how long have you owned the car itself? Give me the backstory of where it came from.
We've owned the car for, I think, close to 10 years now. We went down to Iowa, bought two of them for $5,000, rusty pieces of junk, and brought them back thinking they were just going to be mostly a stock convertible. And once we got it blasted, it was just super too far gone. We knew that basically we were building everything from the firewall back. Everything underneath it was gone. Frame rails, rockers, doors, fenders, quarters, wheel wells. And then it kind of snowballed from there into making it a full custom car.
Wow. And so everything that had to be done on the car, was it your plan from the beginning when you looked at these two cars and you decided, okay, this is the project that we're going to take on, this is what my wife wants, if you could go back, would you start with those same two cars, or were they so far gone now? Would you do it different if you could start all over again, go back and talk to Dan 9-10 years ago and be like, yeah, do this? Or would you talk yourself out of it and go with a different beginner car? What would you do?
Knowing what I know now, 10 years ago, I would have went about it a whole different direction.
Okay.
Completely different. Now that we do things in our process, obviously we were starting out back then into getting into big cars, and really that's, where you started from. You got to learn, you got to do different things. And now 10 years later, and we've done a bunch of big high-end cars, I definitely would have done it a lot different.
Okay. Gotcha. And we'll get into a little bit more about the shop and the guys and the business aspect of what you do. But sticking with this particular 62, floors, you said were like pretty much gone, right? Like it just, what did you have to build underneath this thing in order to make it the solid foundation that you're after?
So once we got it back from the blaster and we knew how bad it was, the stock floor pan that I already bought one-piece floor pan basically got thrown in the trash. That wasn't going to work. So we put it on the jig table, and I'd already bought a TCI front and rear clip, basically a rear 4-link 9-inch parallel 4-bar, and it was just a front, Mustang 2 style, and had simple wheelwood brakes at the time also. So we took that and we made our own inner rockers, and basically made it and took a 2x3 quarter wall, made our own rear frame rails, and then tied everything into the TCI rear suspension, and then also the front suspension also. Then once all the frame rails were made, got too busy, we sent it up to Tin Man, and he built all the floors, the trunk, the inner wheel tubs, basically the quarter panel drop-offs in the rear, just made everything connect together, and all the floor pans from there. So
Gotcha. So he did a lot of the sheet metal structural kind of stuff underneath.
Yeah, he did the original gapping of the car, got the doors to fit right, the quarters welded on, basically got a lot of the initial metal fab done, and then I got it back from there.
Got it. Okay. So since you made the decision to go with the TCI front and rear clip, you must have had an idea in your head of what you wanted to do with this car then, right? You obviously didn't build it to just sit and earn trophies. I mean, you're building it with a purpose in mind. And what was that vision that you had for the car that made you choose that suspension and that?
It was really initially built. I mean, my wife wanted it as a grocery getter, right? And it was supposed to be a simple build. And of course it snowballed, and it's just how I wanted to do it, even though we wanted to autocross it a little bit and maybe have a little fun. But I wanted it to be a convertible, but still be very stout. I didn't want a lot of body roll. I didn't want a lot of, and of course I wanted some type of a roll bar to tie everything together.
Sure. In
case something does happen, because people can get stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have some safety features built into it. And I get it. It's not, gonna, but it's better than nothing, right? For a convertible.
Sure.
So we just wanted a super stout platform. So when I do want to go have fun, it's there and it's going to be solid.
Cool.
Ask any car guy, what's something that you'd like to change in your build? And I guarantee he'll say something about the electrical wiring. Because just like going shoe shopping with your girl, it can feel overwhelming and hopeless. But great news, the Piece and Grease podcast is sponsored by WireCare. They've got all the connectors and terminal ends, sleeving, heat shrink, zip ties, and all the tools to make your project's electrical wiring something to be proud of and show off at the next cruise night, because it's done safe and organized and done right. We're excited to be working with WireCare at the Piece and Grease HQ, so go check out their products and tools at wirecare.com.
What did you decide on for your powertrain, engine, transmission, rear diff? Like, what does it have in that?
So it started off with a GM Performance B15 LSX 376. It's their crate motor that's made for boosted applications. Put a 2.9 liter Whipple on it, full headers, full exhaust on it, MagnaFlow, and then that's backed by 4L80, basically even a stock 4L80 right now. I mean, it's lasting 2 or 3 years. I mean, eventually it's going to go out. It's not going to handle it, but
sure.
Right now it's doing good, right?
Okay.
And it's got a strange 3-inch chromoly drive shaft, Ford 9-inch 373 posi,
okay,
a locker, so everything handles well and no issues.
Cool. So back to the transmission specifically, you don't have like a loose converter in it or a shift kit or anything like that. It's a stock 4L80, or is it beefed up?
It's a stock 4L80, but it does have, obviously it's got the Brian Tooley Stage 2 cam in it. So it does have a looser Circle D converter in it. Obviously, after we dynoed it, gave him the specs on it. And yeah, it's probably a 28, 3200 stall, somewhere in there. So, it works well with the motor.
Sure.
But still very streetable and does good.
Yeah. How about your engine management? What are you using there?
It's a Holley Dominator computer system.
Okay. Cool.
So basically everything is ran underneath the dash. Holley Dominator's hidden underneath the dash. It's got a Holley digital display in it's like the 7-inch, I think, in the dash. So
awesome. How about brakes and wheel tires, things like that?
4-wheel disc brakes, Willwood 13-inch rotor, 6 piston calipers up front. It's got the 12-inch rotors in the back, 4 piston calipers, running a set of 17x8 forged lines up front with the BFG rivals. It's got 18 by 10 inch rears, maybe 11s, and it's got 315 BFG rivals in the back.
Cool. And because you chose that offset and that wheel tire combo, that meant you probably had to tub it, I would think, right, to make some room in the trunk for it.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's full mini tubbed and then some. The exhaust is wrapped around very close to, I mean, it's obviously even the outer wheel wells, the inner wheel wells with that 315, it is super close, but it clears and it works.
Nice. That's awesome. You've done a lot of work to make this car look really, really smooth, and you've simplified a lot of things. But simple isn't the right word, but you've cleaned it up so that it's not cluttered. And tell me some of those details that you've done to make the fit and the finish and the look that you wanted. What were some of the things you did body-wise?
I mean, our biggest thing is we pride ourselves on paint and body, and I wanted it to look very straight, not a lot of clutter. Like you say, the convertibles had the stainless moldings around the top all the way around, which never fit good. Had stainless moldings all the way around the windshield also. Never really looked all that good. The windshield was rubber with a chrome or stainless inside, right? Never fit very good. So the whole goal kind of made a roadster looking convertible, but still a operational top instead of just a roadster that doesn't have a full top, right? So I took and welded up everything, made some caps for the doors and caps for the quarters, and basically kind of squared them all off, gapped everything, just kind of more or less clean everything up so there wasn't emblems, clutter, blinkers, lenses, anything like that. I just wanted it more, no emblems, no nothing, just nice and clean.
Yeah. Even something as subtle as flush mount glass in it, like the casual observer going to a car show may not even understand how much work goes into making that happen, but you made a conscious decision to do that just because it looks cleaner and smoother. Like, you put the work into making that happen, and that's really impressive. I think that's cool.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Your bumpers, you started telling me a little bit earlier when we were outside about how much work goes into bumper fitment and like your headlight bezels and things like that. Like, go into that just a little bit.
So even the rear bumpers, there's no bolt holes in them. There's no, acorn nuts on them. Everything was welded up, studs welded on, the bumper brackets trimmed and fit. The ends were cut off and sucked in, and everything was ground and fit and finish on the outsides. Then they went out to chrome. Instead of coming back finished in chrome, they come back in copper, and then we basically take a hard block sand the copper, file it down flat, send it back out. They recopper it again and send it back so we get it as straight as we can, and then they can do all the final chrome from there. So, I mean, that was just the bumpers. The headlight bezels on a Nova, I mean, they never fit right. They're tin, aluminum, super soft. They're just horrible. So, we sat there and welded up the corners, and my metal guy worked them all the way around and made them fit and finish to fit the hood and also fit the fender line, and sent them out, got them copper, came back, sanded them. So many, many hours went into even just the body paint, but even the fit and finish of the bumpers and the bezels and everything about it.
Wow. Because in 1962, a lot of that stuff would have been just pot metal or just the cheapest that was available at just stamped out stuff, right?
Yeah, and Novas were not meant to be what this is. They were a base model car that was stamped out, and they weren't supposed to be anything big. They were, they had a full front clip that was had coil springs and a shock and a huge, small motor. And I mean, they weren't made to do anything.
Yeah, that's right. So you're taking something that wasn't ever designed to do that, and you're making it into what you want it to be.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean
super
to be
cool.
able to fit that kind of motor in there with the inner fenders, and you got an intake right there, and then you have fans, and then you have a radiator and a AC condenser, then you got intercoolers. Like everything is so tight to make that work on an old Nova. I mean, and yeah, it took a lot of time.
Wow. A lot of planning. It's no wonder it took you that long. To me, it's like, that's not a surprise, but you're a busy guy. I mean, you're trying to run a business. You got employees and life and family, all that stuff. You're juggling all that. Plus you're trying to build this. And so it's impressive, man.
Thank you. Many. That's why it takes 7 years. And
Yeah.
you know, any cars I do outside a straight line, I mean, that's why it takes time. You got a lot of everything else you got to juggle along with it. And then you're coming home and working on the car a little bit. You got weekends and a little bit of this, then bring it to the shop when you think you got time, but you still got all the customer cars you got to keep up on too. And
Yeah.
it's a lot.
If at any point in the project did you stop and say, what am I doing? Did you start to lose interest in it? Did you start to get burned out on it and think, yeah, what am I doing?
There's times to where it sat for a little while. Yeah, you got other things going on, and then you got to come back to it, and then you get motivated again, and you get to the next step. And even along the way, I mean, I don't know how many times I changed plans on this thing. And
Did you?
I mean, from it having air ride at one point to switching to coilovers. I mean, we almost scrapped the Whipple on it because trying to get everything to fit with the intercoolers and where you're going to put the water tank and the water lines and the water pump for it and make everything fit. I mean, it was like, man, why don't we just make this easy and just put even a 600 horse NA in it, right? Instead of having a Whipple on it. But we made it happen.
It would have been easier, but then it wouldn't be yours, right?
That's right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Tell me about the interior a little bit.
So started off probably years ago with Greg Fleury doing the dash work. I wanted him to be a part of the car and build the dash and the console for it. So that had been already done for a couple years and tied the Holley LED dash into it. The blinkers are on the sides of the dash. There's shift light on the top of the dash, and then basically the moldings that came out from there, and it was all finished in aluminum. So we kind of had a wrap after we did the interior, came back and painted some of the aluminum, then also wrapped some of the flat dash too. Our interior guy then finished off the rest of it, built it in fiberglass and wood, and then basically we hand stitched, wrapped the roll bar, and did it in a distressed leather also, which my wife picked out, for her what she wanted. So
it's beautiful. Yeah.
And basically finished it off.
That's awesome. You're telling me outside about the stitching that has the color that matches the engine, and that has to be hand stitched. I mean, after he was done with the interior, essentially done, but he went back, and you were saying he has to do that by hand.
So this was our second car we did that on. We built a 68 Camaro that we hand stitched the roll bar after the certain two pieces were glued together and had the stitching on it. He comes back with basically a needle and thread, and then has a pattern and hand stitches and pulls it all together one by one. Man. And we probably got 2 weeks plus into the steel. I don't know, maybe even 3 weeks. I don't know. I mean, it was week after week that he'd sit there just stitching it all together.
Man, that's incredible. But that's actual craftsmanship. I mean, how many people can do what he does? That's pretty amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And he's an employee of yours that does the interior work on all your builds?
At the end of 24, we shut down our interior shop.
Okay.
So this was, we finished this car in, I think, 22 and 23, and a few more cars. And then at the end of 24, he wanted to go a different direction, and we shut down our interior shop.
Got it. Okay. Tell me about the audio system on this car.
It's a Kenwood deck, full cowl, 6 inch speakers up front, some tweeters, has a 6 inches in the rear, and then it has a 10-inch subwoofer in the back, 2 amps in the rear underneath all the interior in the back. So I wanted a simple, but I still a super high quality stereo system too, in a convertible. Even though the Whipple, you don't need a radio, but once in a while, it's kind of nice to listen to something if you're cruising, doing some weekend cruising.
Yeah, awesome. That's super cool. The color, you were telling me a little bit about the exterior color and then the engine color, and what some of the compromise there was with you and your wife, right?
So as you know, we said, this was I'm building this for my wife, right? So she was supposed to be she picked the rims. And she really wanted the color champagne. She wanted the car, and I wanted a car and brandy wine. And of course, she won because it was supposed to be for her. And so we found a street rod once that was painted in a Mercedes color. I call it champagne. They call it 3 or 4 different names and whatever. So reached out to the guy, and finally he came back, told me what it was, and I got the code for it, and that's what it is.
Awesome.
So we ended up doing kind of the suspension in the brandy wine, but with a matte clear, the 4 bars, the 9-inch, and the engine, the transmission, the drive shaft, and upper lower control arms in brandy wine. And then basically the whole underside was completely body worked also, and wet sanded and buffed. And so that's all in the champagne color. And so and a little bit of black also, just to accent that also too. So between that, I think it came out pretty dang good. Yeah,
man, it's a fantastic business card for you, and kind of shows what you and your guys are all capable of.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thank you.
That's super cool. So go into Straight Line Customs a little bit for me. Kind of give me the backstory, how you got started, and have you been in Burnsville the entire time?
No, we are working right now on our 6th shop. I'm basically, in 2007 I started Straight Line out of my garage in Prior Lake.
Okay.
Just doing side work. I was working for somebody else, like everybody does, right? And after 2 years in 2009, I finally got enough people behind me and made the big plunge to go out on my own, and had like 3 big customers. And my big thing back then was really good paint and body, right? A lot of people knew me for paint and body, so got into that. A lot of it was just paint jobs up front, small mechanical too. 1 or 2 guys, you used to start building. And then I moved to a 2,500 square foot shop, and you had a couple more guys, and you outgrow that after 4 years. And then we moved up, and that was in Savage. Then we moved over to Shakopee, and we moved up to a 5,000 square foot building. We were there for 3 years, and made the big plunge from there. And it was like, here we go, we're going to do it. And pulled some big strings and worked with a good bank, and we bought a building over in Burnsville.
Got it.
And that's where we're at now, and that's where we've been for 9 years. So we're awesome. Actually, after 9 years, we're in a lot of changes, a lot of things happen, right? Yeah. Made the big choice to build another building at my house, and we're getting in the process in the next couple months of actually kind of downsizing again.
Okay.
And taking our key people, our kind of a core 4.
Sure.
And going back to my house and just gonna build badass cars and really refine what we've learned over the last 15 years. And you learned a lot, like School of Hard Knocks, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been tested, we've been tried by a lot of people and a lot of things, and we've always come out on top. And now it's basically we're really just gonna take that with the knowledge that we have now and build some really cool high-end stuff. We got a lot of stuff that's getting ready to come out, a 67 Nova that's getting ready to debut this year, and a C10 that we're building that we're going to debut at Good Guys too, and Cadillac, and another, we just finished up GSTA, that 35 Dodge pickup.
So these are all customer builds?
These are all customer builds, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff that we're working on finishing and really setting the bar for what we can do.
That's awesome. And so it really started with your first 3 big jobs, right? That going back, and now did it start to almost get tough to control? Like you had, how did you say it? You almost had like too much, or did you have too many irons in the fire in a way? Or what was it that made you decide that like, we need to downsize it a little bit, we need to pull it back? What was that?
When we moved over to Burnsville, I had huge ambitions of being the biggest hot rod shop in Minnesota. I mean, my building's 14,000 square feet, divided in 2. I mean, we were going to have the hot rod shop when, we were going to have the interior shop. We started right away when we got there, and that was going awesome, right? And we were doing great interiors. We started a tuning company, and we were doing all the LS tuning and everything else too. And so my whole goal was to take over the whole shop and to run it and have a dyno and to have an interior shop and to be that shop you come to just do turnkey builds where you don't have to send it out to anybody. You can manage each part of the build and do it right, do all the paint and body, all the fab, and to get that done in the right process. And then also, instead of sending a car off to interior and waiting for 6 or 8 months, your interior guy can also pre-build and plan and do the interior and work with the guys also. So even at the end, when you're assembling the car and wiring it, you can also be working with the interior guy on what he wants and where things go, and everybody can work together, and the time period gets cut down drastically.
There you go.
On the build.
Yep.
Now that our interior guy's gone, you get a car done, and then you send it off to interior for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then you just wait.
The idea was to streamline it so that everything could be happening under your roof, and that way the car isn't sitting in jail somewhere for 6 months at a time waiting for the interior guy, or waiting to get wired, or waiting for a tune, or things like that. It's all happening. And
the quality, I mean, you're and then that's part of why we started interior shop. I had multiple guys that we had to do interiors that didn't get me what I wanted. There was always issues, and it just gets to the point you're always, to make that customer happy, you're fixing it. I mean, it's just happened again on another one, just because we don't have an interior shop. Took it to a truck to an interior shop, and it wasn't good.
It's not up to your standards or the customer's standards, right? Yeah.
Nope. So then I go take it on my dime, and you got to make it right. I take it out to a friend of mine, Abbott Upholstery in South Dakota, and we, for 4 nights, we redid the seats and redid the door panels and got crunch time to get it back in time to finish the truck and to get it to Chicago to World of Wheels. And, you had a truck that was a top-notch build, but then you had an interior that was not up to par.
Yeah, subpar. Yep.
So, we did what we could to kind of get it where it needed to be.
Sure.
And that's just what you do to make the customer happy and make your build with the quality that it needs to be.
Because if it's got your name on it, on the build, that if you're the builder, then it has to be right.
It has to be right.
It has to be right.
You're the end. I'm the end person that's going to answer to my customer, and we built a reputation on making sure our customers are happy and making sure that the builds we do are going to last, and that our drivers are not just a show car that you go out and push in and out of a trailer. We want them reliable. We want them drivers, but we still want them a very, very top tier built car. They're, as we say, our builds are some of the best 5%ers out there. Some of the stuff that we compete for the best of the best with the top tier, some of the biggest builders out there, right? We try to. It's not like we can't, but we go up against them.
Sure.
And we still have fun and enjoy it and whatever, but it's what you do.
That's awesome. Love that. Where did the name Straight Line Customs come from? How'd you come up with that?
Man, it took me a long time. It took us a while back in 07 when I was doing some side work for a guy and he needed to cut me a check and I needed to find a name. And he's like, so am I going to write a check to? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, you know. And so we went around a lot of different names and it was going to be Dan's Hot. It's I can't remember the names that we found. But
yeah,
again, always go back to, it was always about my paint and body and making it straight and straight lines and we came up with Straight Line Customs and that's what we went with.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to school for body work?
Nope.
You didn't?
Nope.
Okay. What's your backstory? How did you get into this? How did you get started? Like, what was the impetus that, like, that's what I'm going to do someday?
So I was always big into baseball and some sports and everything growing up. And my dad was always big into cars too. And when I was 14, we kind of got this idea of wanting to restore a car together. And we started looking around and looked at El Caminos and different cars. And, you know, we came across this 66 Mustang coupe, you know, and next thing you know, I bought it and 14 years old. We're, you know, even back that drove home a shitty old little Mustang coupe and we tore it down from there. And
cool.
You know, we built the engine together and, you know, built all the suspension and it was, you know, nice little stock car.
Cool. Was that your first car?
My first car. Yeah.
Awesome.
And many summers I'd be ripping around my neighborhood with no doors on it, but the drivetrain in it, it's running and I'm getting pitchforks thrown at me and, you know, 14, 15 years old, ripping around a neighborhood and I learned how to do all the body work on it. And, you know, I had another friend's dad that kind of helped me with it and got ready to paint it. And then down the street was a body shop and we rented the paint booth for the weekend. And
oh, that's cool.
And he painted it for me, but you know, I basically did a lot of the work and worked through it for a couple of years. And when we got done painting it, the guy that had that body shop offered me a job.
Wow, that says something.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I mean, I was 15, 16 years old and started learning how to paint and by the time I was a junior or senior, I was doing all the painting for a couple body guys and getting out of school early and
that's
learning
awesome.
How to paint.
You're learning on the job and you're being mentored by the body shop owner and your dad taught you a lot of those things too. Like you're working with your dad on the mechanical part of the car, like the suspension, the engine, like all the stuff. And was your dad doing body work with you too? Did he teach you that?
Not as much. I mean, he wasn't much of a body guy or that kind of thing, but here's a can of mud and put it on, sand it off and make it straight.
Cool.
So there was a lot of like just learning and how to do it. And, you know, a lot of wet sanding and weekends on sawhorses and just, you know, trying to figure out how to make it straight. And of course, back then, I mean, I obviously thought it was awesome, but nothing to the level, of course, what we do now.
Well, sure.
But it was still a great looking 66 Mustang. And that's kind of where my passion for Mustangs and took off from there. I mean, we've done so many of them. I know them inside and out and every little bolt and every little thing. And
awesome.
So
that's cool. That's really cool. Is a Mustang of that era now something that, like, I should rephrase this. What's your someday car? What is the one out there that, like, you know, one day that's what I'm gonna have one? Or is it this?
You know, it to be honest with you, it changes. Now with business, everything, it's anything. I mean, most of the cars that I get or own or have owned, I've gotten a deal on. You know, a customer gave up on it or something happened and I end up building it. You know, and so it's either Camaros or Chevelles or, you know, I mean, obviously this was one of the nicest one I had built. Most of the stuff is on my own that I do. Yeah. You know, it's just weekends and trying to get it done, right? I put a motor in it, do a quick paint job on it, you know, flip it, right? I mean, that's kind of the stuff I do at home, but, you know, the customer cars are the ones that, you know, the Camaros and the Chevelles and all the cool pro touring stuff that we like to do now.
Where do your clients usually find you? Like you've obviously built a reputation now with Straight Line, but are clients mainly local? Are they international? I mean, how are people finding you and coming to you with projects, and what's the best way that people find out about what you do?
When we started in 2009, I mean, I took a big chance. I mean, you got to think back in 2009, right? I mean, internet and websites weren't all big. I mean, it was still kind of a startup thing, right?
Yeah.
So we built a big website back in 2009, and that was our biggest thing to initially get out there and get seen by people. And that's where we started getting our customers and slowly. I mean, Minnesota has a huge car population and scene, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great customers around here, and at first everything was mostly local. I mean, we worked with a couple international people, a couple pro, football guys, and some. Now we got a few clients down in Texas and South Dakota, and cool. California. We just got done delivering a car for an actor, and I mean, it's really grown into this last 5 to 7 years.
Cool.
I mean, you get out there and you build those big cars and you get them on the internet and social media now, right? Everything's about social media, the pictures and the videos, and you still get a lot of people on the website that does online requests and see your builds and see everything in the build gallery on your website, but a lot of it is what kind of stuff you have out there on your Instagram and your Facebook and all the stuff.
Sure. Yep. You bet. Where do you want to go? Have you already arrived at what your goal was, or do you want to continue on to something more or different, or what's your goals? What's the next few years look like for you? Where do you want to be?
I'll back up for a minute, because going back to the building that we're in, like I said, I had this dream of being the biggest, hot rod shop. And I take from that, the hardest thing about that is the quality of employees. Minnesota is not a state that a lot of high-end people go to. You don't move in families to come work. I mean, even if you get a guy that's really good and intrigued on moving, talk to their wife and they shut that down. They're not going to move to Minnesota. And then you're, after 15 years, we've been through everybody and anybody, that is willing to drive South Metro. Because if you're North Metro, you're not going to drive to South Metro, vice versa, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody knows. I mean, and so it's super hard after we basically got to a point that interior guy quit. I got another body guy that owns his own business, a painter that went on his own way. I got fab guys that do their own thing. And, a lot of these guys we still talk to. But some of them, they think they can do it, but they come in here and they don't build stuff like this. They think they can. They think they can. They might be able to, and twice or three times the time you can charge it out. Right. But, so we finally got to the decision that we were going to move it back home. And so I built the building at my house, and we're basically, like I said, almost done. So to your question, in the next few years, we're taking, like I said, a core 4, and we're refining what we're doing. The process and how we do it with just the select few guys. My son works for me, another very good mechanic, and, one other body guy probably. And I'm going to get back to doing a lot of the work, because right now all I do is run around, fix everything, and run the business and billing. And my, again, I haven't even mentioned my wife. My wife is a huge part of Straight Line.
Cool.
So she's the backbone of what makes us work and what makes it succeed also. And she's been on full time for the last 9 years too.
Sure.
The first initial 10 years was her working a full-time job and doing all the billing, doing all the inputting time and making it work, along with doing everything full time. So now she runs it at home and does the billing, takes care of the grandkids. And, so, I mean, we're going to take it back, take our few big builds, and we're going to finish them, plus our new ones that we're doing, and really just do them better, do the process better, knowing now what we know, and really just try and do it pickier to where we don't have a huge building that has overhead and everything else. Now you can really concentrate on just making each build that much better.
Sure. So the goal went from being the biggest to now being the highest quality, the best, not necessarily the biggest or the most employees, the biggest building or things like that.
Exactly. You have budgets.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Sure.
We don't have an open checkbook for everybody. We got to make the customers happy.
Yeah.
And part of that is just watching budgets, and that's what me and some employees don't get along with.
Sure.
That's the hardest thing is keeping them on track to be able to know that we're not getting paid for every cent if we don't get this done.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who would like to have a build done? Like, what's something that a lot of people wouldn't know or wouldn't think to ask or to know beforehand, but you wish they would?
Learn the process. A lot of people don't know the process, and I strive to really teach people and to, talk about how long it's going to take, what goes into paint jobs, because a lot of people just hear a number and, oh my God, I can't believe it can cost that much, where you make them understand where it goes from bare metal to looking like that Nova, and how many hours on average, how much chrome, stainless, materials. And I used to say back then paint jobs start at 10 grand. Now we paint jobs start at 45 grand, and everything's just gone through the roof. And that's kind of another reason why we're hoping when we get back to our new place that you can, instead of keep raising prices for taxes and materials and overhead and everything, that you can start kind of bringing it back down and doing it differently a little bit.
Yeah, because I would imagine that your time is the most valuable thing that you own. Every one of us has only 24 hours in a day. No matter who you are or what you do, you got 24 hours that you're going to work with. And so for you to be able to say, all right, it's going to be me or it's going to be one of my guys, and this thing has to be right, but we also have to create this build within the constraints that we have for time, for budget, things like that. And so to take those moving pieces and still make sure you're happy with the work, your employee's happy because he's making a living wage and he's proud of what he did, and your customer's happy. That's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that try and keep happy,
Absolutely. Yeah. And my biggest pet peeve is wasted time.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, you just said it, you have 24 hours. I mean, make the best of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sitting around talking and you're sitting around jaw-jacking, you're not getting it done.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, hey,
Bingo.
you got to give. I mean, if you're working a 10-hour day, give it your effort.
Yeah, that's right.
You
That leads me into the next question for you is, what advice would you give to a young guy that wants to get into this industry? He wants to, he sees what you're doing and what you're building. He's like, I want to be like Dan someday. So take it to a kid who's 14 or 18 or thinking about going to school. What would you say to him or her?
Bust your ass and get as much experience as possible, because you see a lot of these young guys that don't take advantage of, even if you bring them into the shop and you say, hey, even on lunch, man, if you want to TIG weld, you can learn. You can do it on your own.
Yeah.
And weeks later, you're telling them, hey, have you picked up that TIG torch yet? No, I mean, they just don't get it. They don't get where they can, if they got those avenues and stuff in front of them to be able to practice, or, hey, can I come in on the weekend and do absolutely.
Cool.
Learn it, but I mean, a lot of these guys don't, but the more ambitious you can get and the more you can just turn wrenches and get that experience. So like I did when I was starting out. I mean, it's all I did in high school, and everything from then on was, we live, breathe, eat car stuff. I mean, that's all we do.
Yeah.
Probably all you guys do, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and here you guys are doing this, right? I mean, it's engines sitting over there, and you're building the stuff, you're rebuilding everything, and
Yeah.
it's always a grind.
Yeah. Yep. So show some initiative, and you were mentored by someone else. So mentorship is something that used to be a really big deal, and it's kind of dwindled, but it can come back. So if you have a young guy that's willing to shadow you or show that kind of initiative, even if it's not you showing him, but you could connect that youngster up with somebody who's willing to teach.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love that. Cool. Is there anything that we missed? Is there stuff that we should hit? Did we forget anything?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Sinclair, you got anything? All right. Fantastic. Well, Dan. Well, yeah. This isn't going to be your only time that you're going to be on the show.
We got plenty of them.
Awesome.
There's only so many we can do that many burnouts, though. I mean,
Well,
I don't know if a customer's going to like seeing that many burnouts.
They won't be your radials on somebody else's car, right? Yeah.
Got to keep it in one of my cars.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bringing your build in and just sitting down with us and talking to us about it, man. I really
It's been
appreciate
awesome.
your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, guys, we want to thank you for coming along on this episode. We had a fantastic time just going out, making some cloudy burnouts and grinding down some radials with Dan today. And I love sitting down, talking cars with guys and getting to know who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, and it's so cool. I'm thrilled. So,
yeah, and it's been a blast. Great day.
Good deal, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Guys, we really appreciate WireCare and their sponsorship of the show and our Patreon supporters in our community. You guys are awesome, and we can only do this because of you guys. So thanks so much, and we will see you on the next episode. Peace and grease.